The old soldier was adamant about his words. No one tries to fight the humans anymore. We just leave them alone. He screamed this at the council, and the others were confused. He was an honored elder, also known by human standards as an admiral. One of the young ones simply asked, "Why is this? Surely the rumors have been exaggerated." "They are not. Listen, let me tell you the last time a species thought to underestimate the humans. On my third command of a ship, which is usually the last, but I was lucky to have a fourth after this, I received a distress call from the Quecterns." The name, of course, made everybody uncomfortable as they looked at each other as they realized what was coming. The elder took this moment to push his point across. As you all know, they had begun to push across human-held territories with supreme vigor. The predatory avian species they are simply did not stop and didn't want to listen when they asked for terms, asked for survival, asked for those who are not fighters to leave. They did not listen to any of the warnings, even from myself. I stood in front of one of their captains, and when I voiced my warnings to them, I was told to flap off by them, which is one of their most deep insults. Although I had voiced my concerns, I simply moved away, as this battle was not mine. Before leaving, I offered proof of my time as a guest on one of the humans. What do they call these again? Yes, frigates. That is what the humans call a purpose-built mid-tier ship, though most of you in this room would gravitate more directly to their more direct, powerful ships called a destroyer and cruiser classes of ships. I was just grateful to see what I saw on this one. When I was brought around this frigate, it seemed to have a particular purpose and a particular weapon. When the human captain was showing me around, he looked at it and referenced it as our favorite toy. Several of the younger officers laughed slightly hearing this, yet he silenced them when he said, "In spite of the name, I assure you it was not a toy at all. They told me what it could do, how a few of these fired at a planet would cause destruction on a level that even they didn't want to see. Apparently, the only time it was used was a test firing to make sure the damn thing worked. And turns out, at least what they said, it did, and made a planet nearly uninhabitable for nearly 50 of our solar rotations. One could not survive on the surface after that without a specialized suit for another 50 to 100 of our solar rotations." I believe in their words, they said I was full of excitement at the idea of seeing this weapon in action. That is, until I saw the Quecta's homeworld. When I had arrived to their homeworld responding to their distress calls, our communication relays were simply overwhelmed by the extremely high amount of distress calls screaming for help, cursing that was going out towards the humans that were already at a standoff distance, just a few of these frigates. And of course, the cries of surrender from the Quecter's High Emperor, something no one ever expected to hear. Looking down on the surface, what I saw can only be described of as insane. The human forces had lured the home fleet away, the home fleet believing that they could simply ambush the humans and make this war end very quickly, take all their planets, take all their people, take all the war trophies, and continue on. When they left, 7 human frigates armed with that terrible weapon struck. They had somehow directed energy into the planet. Somehow this caused a reaction. It caused the massive tectonic shifts, as in every single plate, even those that had previously fused together over time, started to crack apart. Because of this, it leveled every single building across entire continents. As we looked down, we were amazed to see that the entire place had been razed to the ground. All 12 continents were now without even their basic essentials. There was no running water, no power. There was no way of getting anything done. The roads were even cracked apart. This was insane because there was untold casualties due to structures simply shaking into pieces and crumbling on those inside. Buildings that stood dozens of tiers high simply crushed everyone inside. And that was just the beginning. The power plants, being broken, began to melt down as necessary parts began to fail as they no longer functioned. Containment fields meant to hold back toxins that now flowed freely out of their broken containers simply failed to operate, and poisons started to seep out, making large sections of the planet completely uninhabitable. Then massive waves that the humans call tsunamis rose from the oceans like some sort of titanic beast and wiped out everything within 185 kilometers of the shore. If someone was lucky, they would be on the other side of a mountain range for this, and they would be only getting part of themselves wet and not be swept away like a giant broom pushed across the shoreline. Then the worst part happened. The final disaster that would make this planet uninhabitable for the next 3 generations. Every single caldera exploded at the same time with enough force that the planet itself shook. Molten debris fell back down onto the planet in every single direction from these calderas. Not only that, but pyroclastic flows roared across the planet for hundreds of kilometers. Long dormant volcanoes were now active, and everyone was afraid, but they should have been more afraid of what the humans call super volcanoes. These underground calderas exploded with so much force that you would think that somebody had sent multiple hydrogen bombs. This sent up enough powdered rock that the humans call ash into the air that entire continents became lunar landscapes. The revelation that humans have the technology to make your own planet kill most of your species frightened even the most vicious species in the galaxy. Us. With this, the old admiral sat back into his chair, memories flashing back into his mind, memories he wishes he didn't have. The rest of the room was in shock for at least half a minute. Then a young officer piped up. From what you're saying, as long as we do not leave our planets undefended, they cannot hurt us. The admiral turned his eyes and gazed and said, No. You see, when I talked to the humans later, they all seemed saddened by the outcome. Oh, I didn't know they would be so saddened by the outcome. I didn't know they would have so much sympathy for their enemy. You are wrong again, he snapped at the young one. They were not sad that they ended the war in one motion, nor were they saddened by the fact that so many perished due to their actions. They were saddened by the fact that they were not allowed to send their own ground forces in to land on the planet and tear it apart with their own hands. And that was just those who would land on the planet. The crews of the ships were saddened that they used such a weak weapon by human standards. This is why we must never fight the humans. You don't want them to bring out what they call the good stuff.